It goes without saying, Senator Kamala Harris is front page news today, not just in the U.S., but internationally as well. Here in the States, some of the major publications are making note of the history her selection to Joe Biden's Democratic ticket is making. The first-term senator is thanking her parents as she accepts Biden's offer to run as his vice president. On Facebook, Harris spoke about how the civil rights movement brought her father, a Jamaican immigrant, and her mother, an Indian immigrant, together amid violence. She shared the following quote from her mother. She says inspired her: "Don't just sit around and complain about things, do something." CBS News chief congressional correspondent Nancy Cordes takes a look at how Senator Harris turned those words into action in her first 4 years on Capitol Hill.
Be sure about your answer, sir.
She is one of the Senate's newer members.
Can you give me a yes or no answer,
in the
please?
closed briefing, well, it's not a short answer, Senator. The answer
It is either you are willing to do that or not.
And yet her interrogations are already legendary.
Attorney General Barr, has the president or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone?
I wouldn't.
Yes or no?
Could you repeat that question?
Harris came to Congress in 2017, drawing donations, presidential buzz, and attention on late-night TV.
Can you think of any laws that give the government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm not thinking of any right now, Senator.
Goddamn, Kamala Harris brings it, man.
In 2017, her grilling of then Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
My question is only as
don't have the
relates to your
detailed
knowledge.
memory of that.
This startling admission.
I'm not able to be rushed this fast. It makes me nervous.
Last year, his successor, Bill Barr, struggled too.
They have not asked me to open an investigation, but
Perhaps they've suggested,
I don't know. I wouldn't say suggest.
hinted,
I don't know.
inferred. You don't know. Okay.
Nancy Cordes, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
I want to bring in CBS News campaign reporters Bo Erickson and Tim Perry now. Bo and Tim, welcome to both of you. Bo, let me start with you. You followed the Biden campaign. What do you believe ultimately led to his decision?
Hi, Tanya. Tim and I are both outside the high school right now where we will see this ticket, Mr. Biden and Senator Kamala Harris for the first time. And I've been making a lot of calls along with my colleagues as well about what really went into why he decided to pick the senator. And we've learned that after 120 hours of the vetting committee, they met with several different interest groups to hear what they wanted. They also met with organizations that are dedicated to electing women. They had a starting list of 20 women, and then they whittled that down to 11. And after that, they started interviewing each one of those women, and then eventually it got to the time where each vetter sat down with Mr. Biden personally himself and described to them how and who they think he should choose. Why, though, did he make the decision for Senator Harris? I've heard on several things. And the one word that I keep hearing over and over again is toughness. We heard some of that in Nancy Cordes' package about hearing Senator Harris grill some of the Trump administration officials. Another thing I've heard is that she is, of course, a prosecutor, and we've heard a lot about that debate moment last June. But someone actually put it to me and kind of spun it a little bit and said, with her as a prosecutor and Joe Biden as a public defender, it actually kind of evens the scales of Lady Justice. And so by picking someone as a prosecutor, it is kind of seen as a sign, at least within the campaign, that they want Senator Harris to be outspoken on several issues, including race as well. And then just two more elements I heard. She's not too liberal, actually. Tim will probably tell you more about that. And then, of course, the big whammy is that there's harmony between the families, between Senator Harris and Mr. Biden through Beau Biden. And there's also harmony between her supporters and Joe Biden's supporters as well.
All right, so Tim, let me turn to you now because, of course, you followed the Harris campaign. How did you see voters react to her on the campaign trail?
So the one word I would use to describe the way voters felt about Senator Harris on the trail, inspired. A lot of her story inspired a lot of the people that you saw at her events. And her events were very diverse. Her events brought a lot of older black women. Many of them were members of the same sorority that she was a member of, AKA when she went to Howard University, which is an HBCU. And so people really loved her story. And as Nancy Cordes pointed out in her package, the one thing that people will bring up over and over and over when you spoke to her supporters were some of those grilling moments that she had during Senate testimonies. You know, people would talk about her grilling Jeff Sessions or William Barr. And, you know, even the president brought up her grilling of Brett Kavanaugh, Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, yesterday at his press conference. And, you know, these are things that people are really looking forward to as she debates Mike Pence in the fall.
And so, Tim, what demographics can Senator Harris bring to the ticket that Biden might not already have?
Well, I think one thing that they are hoping that she can do is bring out some of those young, diverse voters that made former President Barack Obama so successful in 2008. And I think that a lot of them see her as, you know, a younger black woman, but she's also a young Asian woman. And they think that not only can she bring out young people of color, but even some young white people who are young white, you know, voters voting for the first time, who see this as such a historic moment for them to elect the first black or Asian American woman as vice president. Other groups of people that they think that she can bring in, older black women and suburban women, which suburban women, black, white, you know, women of all races. But those are some of the people that you see as Senator Harris, you know, some of her biggest supporters. And as Bo mentioned earlier, you know, she kind of fits into the mold of what people want her to be. A lot of her supporters say she's very, very, very liberal. And she's, you know, as a prosecutor in California, they saw her as, you know, a reformist prosecutor and someone who's super progressive. And a lot of her critics see her as, you know, this radical leftist. And I think that's a, you know, people can kind of debate that all along. And I think that that's super helpful for her going forward into the fall.
All right, and so, Bo, how will the two of them plan to campaign? Because obviously, we're still in the middle of a pandemic that's turned a lot of things on its head, but obviously it's also changed the way politicians are campaigning. What is their plan? Do you know?
They want to jam-pack these next 83 days until the November election. Today, we're expecting both the politicians with their spouses to make remarks, and then that will just be in front of socially distanced press corps. Then they are going to go into the middle of Wilmington, the Biden's hometown, and hold a virtual fundraiser, and we're excited to see what that looks like. I was told one of the reasons why Senator Harris was picked is because she's very good at these virtual campaign-style events, and so they're expecting her to do many more of those, and we might see more travel on the trail here in the next couple weeks or months.
Virtual dexterity is a good talent to have these days. All right, well, Bo Erickson and Tim Perry, thank you so much for joining us.